Okay, well, hello everybody. Okay, all right, that'll work. Wow, that's loud. My name is Keith Jason. I'm 27 years old, graduate of Eastern Michigan University. I currently work for the university in their College of Technology, doing marketing and recruiting. As I said earlier, I'm not going to actually market and recruit you guys because you're already here at UofM Dearborn, so we'll leave that alone today. But what I am here to do is talk about a little bit about my upbringing, the interracial relationship that I'm involved in. I've been married for 2 years to a beautiful young woman who was born and raised right up the street in the city of Detroit. Graduate of Cass Tech, went to the University of Michigan. She's finishing her grad degree now at University of Detroit Mercy in guidance counseling. So I'm here to talk about that.
Anyone want to chime in on that? We're going to go to Keith. Keith, same question to you. How was marrying? Is your wife African American? It says your woman. Is your wife African American?
Yes, Javon happens to be African American. Yes. As far as the family's reaction to it, with me, it was. I don't want to say it was just kind of assumed that would be the case, but after a certain period of time, my parents, it became less and less and less of an issue as time progressed. I had interracially dated for a number of years before I met my wife, and there were times when things were an issue in the past. For example, I can remember I grew up in Freeport, Illinois, which is about an hour and a half outside of the city of Chicago. And there was the Martin Luther King Center, or Boys and Girls Club, in Freeport, and I went to an event there, which was basically like a dance for middle school, high school kids. And after my father came and picked me up, he asked me if I was the only white person there at the event. And I said I didn't really think that was important, but him being my father, he felt extremely disrespected by the fact that I wasn't answering his question. So I kind of refused to answer the question for a little while, and finally I told him. And because of the issue, we actually ended up that evening almost coming to physical blows with each other had my mother not stepped in between the two of us. Since my father and I have reconciled a lot of those issues, and over the 10 years from between that time and the time that I met Javon, my parents became much more open and much more accepting to different things like that. Her side of the family, her father, strangely enough, actually thought I was mixed when he met me, which I don't understand, but I've had that experience once or twice before. I don't get it. I'm looking at Derek and Corey and some other people in the room who've known me for some years. But her father actually went back to work and told his crew at the store that he worked at that that his daughter had found a nice mixed guy. And so that was kind of interesting. So their family was very welcoming and very accepting. There have been some awkward moments over the course of things, like those holiday conversations where things come up like, "So Keith, do white people really eat macaroni as a main dish?" And I get to be the spokesperson for my race during those conversations. So, and interestingly enough, a few days later, I went to work when I was working in financial aid, and they were having a potluck. And sure enough, right there on the main dish list, someone had written in macaroni and cheese.
Keith.
Just real quickly, my wife and I come from similar backgrounds. We ended up at the same point from similar backgrounds. I grew up in the Catholic Church. She grew up in the Lutheran Church. So, I mean, there's some major differences between Catholicism and Lutheranism, but the style of service was very similar. And then we both ended up at Burning Bush Church of God in Christ, which is in Ypsilanti, where I just so happened to be one of the ministers with the youth staff there. And for us, the religion piece of thing never really was an issue because we had similar backgrounds before we came to our church. And then we're at the same church for almost 6 years before we got married. And part of the question was the conversations that took place beforehand. I'm in a situation right now where I don't have, well, Javon and I don't have any children, no children from previous relationships. There was a great deal of conversation that went into play beforehand. Just conversations about the fact that you're looking at somebody who's a third generation Polish American. For the most part, my last name is Jason because the family changed it from Yashinowski to Jason in order to fit in with the American workforce. So that Polish heritage is something that was always very important to me, and learning more about that. And it's just conversations that we had and came to an agreement together that it would be good for our children to know about both sides of their heritage. Although the common point of view when it comes down to biracial children is that the children are perceived as being black in most cases. I mean, can we pretty much agree that that's the case? But, you know, I feel it's very important for them to understand both sides of their heritage and to be familiar with both sides of the heritage, not to be excluded one from the other. But of course, I don't have any children yet, so I haven't experienced that, so I can't give you any of that background. But they definitely will be exposed to both sides of things, and taught that they're beautiful because they're themselves, not because they're one thing or another, but because they're whoever they are. And that's, I think, something that's very important and that we miss out a lot of times.
Anyone else?
Let's not get it twisted. Relationships, period, marriage, period, by itself is a challenge. Okay, then you add the interracial aspect of it and society's perceptions and the challenges that causes there and the different causes there. Add a whole nother side of things. And you have people oftentimes from two cultural backgrounds. So like you said, a lot of times you say things one way and it can mean one thing. Another time you could say things another way and it can mean another thing to another person. So there's a lot of communication that has to go on. So your initial question was, what words of wisdom would you offer to someone who was considering interracially dating?
Yes.
I would say, I mean, first of all, like I said, relationships by themselves are hard enough as it is. I was talking earlier, and I tell people all the time, marriage is a beautiful challenge. It's the only way that I know how to describe it, because it's a beautiful experience, but it's challenged me more than anything else I've ever been through. So if from the relationship perspective, before you even think about interracially dating, you should probably think about intelligently dating somebody first, and not just, oh, I like their eye color, so I'm going to date that person. Oh, you know, his braids are really nice, so I'll date him. Or, you know, I saw Baby Got Back, and so let me see what it's like to be with a black woman. You know, these are not good foundations to build relationships on, but unfortunately, this is what happens in a lot of situations. So before you even consider interracially dating, remember that Keith said, consider intelligently dating first. And picking someone for real factors, things like, you know what, their values, their ideals match up with mine. This is someone who really cares about me. This is someone who's demonstrated that they're a level-headed individual. They're not going to just haul off and beat my brains in, whether they be black, white, or any other color under the spectrum. So just keep that in mind first. And then the other things, once you've got that in place, will start to handle themselves.